What's going on, everyone? I am back for part 4 of my hardcore Nuzlocke Randomizer of Pokemon Black version. I finished off part 3 by beating Bryson, with Lacarne, Gigachad the Girder being the biggest loss. And while we mourn the passing of Lacarne, I remind myself of the challenge at hand. If I don't win this challenge, her death will have been for nothing. After hyping myself up, I head north to Dragon Spiral Tower to defeat Team Plasma. The grunts through the tower are all pretty easy to defeat up until the 4-grunt gauntlet toward the end, which was intimidating at first, but at this point my Krokorok has evolved into Crocodile, so I'm able to cleanly sweep them all. I head upstairs to confront N. I really just want for him to define our relationship, but he just spouts off a ton of nonsense and then flies into the sunset without me. After leaving the tower, I meet up with all of these people that you see on the screen now, and they tell me to go to the Relic Castle. Naturally, I don't listen to them and head straight to the next route. I use this opportunity to catch a Roselia as my encounter for the Moor of Icarus, which I missed last part. I name her La Rosa because, duh. This is a great encounter though, because after evolving it with a shiny stone, Roserade is an absolute powerhouse. I proceed to the end of Route 8, where of course the exit is blocked because the game wants me to advance the story. After having no other option, I head to Relic Castle, where Plasma is yet again waiting for me to destroy all of their teams with my Crocodile and Togekiss. I fall down my final quicksand hole to meet Alder, accompanied by Getsis. I was totally expecting a fight here, but the whole situation just immediately diffuses and I get to head to the final city before Victory Road. On brand as ever, I am surprised by Bianca.
Oh man, I have to fight Bianca.
For whatever reason, I think a Shell Smash setup is a good idea here, and just have to switch to Dusclops on what I hope is a normal type move. It ends up not being a normal type move, and I have to switch again to Togekiss, who takes out Stoutland. Imbor comes in, and I don't really have a good option, so I stay in and Air Slash for the Oko. This is pretty bad because Lacina is now overleveled for the Drayden fight, and so far I have pretty heavily relied on Togekiss to win battles for me. Being overleveled, I now have to switch to La Muerte, who burns through both of her full restores and burns and confuses her before switching to El Hugo. He can't hang though, and El Perro has to come in and make up for his mistakes. He immediately KOs. Probably should have just sent him earlier, and she sends out her final Pokemon, who is Grass Monkey Elvis Presley. Roserade is able to quickly take care of the Simisage, and that is another battle that I walk away from with 0 deaths. Barely. I really need to get my act together before fighting the Elite Four because, this situation really hasn't been all that great. I step into the city, and after listening to Team Plasma just lay out their plans for world domination in front of a ton of civilians, Alder informs me that the best thing for me to do right now, while the world is on fire, is to just go challenge the 8th gym. Priorities. Before I fight the gym trainers though, I go ahead and get my final 2 encounters before Drayden, a Ninetales named La Abuela, and a Pinsir named La Tela. The gym trainers are fairly harmless, with the exception of a few close calls. Dragon Dance Fracture is terrifying. I do, however, make it all the way to Drayden unscathed and decide I need to formulate a strategy. Taking everything into consideration, I come up with the lamest move ever: Toxic, Dig, and Intimidate. So my whole plan is just to stall out his Dragon Danced Pokemon. Anyway, I lead with Crocodile and start with a Toxic while Fracture Dragon Dances. Already just shaking, I decide that his attack buffs aren't enough and go for a risky Swagger. Luckily it pays off and I'm able to get rid of both Drayden's healing items and take out Fracture with 0 damage on El Perro. Druddigon comes in, and after poisoning him, I switch into Dusclops to Confuse. A successful confusion, and I switch again to Stoutland to get off Intimidate and stall with Dig for the KO. With Haxorus in, I switch to Dusclops to get off a risky Will-O-Wisp and cut its attack. By switching to Granbull, I can further drop his attack, and stall out a few turns of burn damage with Dig. My final moves are to switch to Stoutland and then back to Grand Bull and stall out the win. I really didn't expect this to be such an easy win here, but AI manipulation is just ridiculous in this game. I collect my badge and head out to meet Professor Juniper, who I tell I don't regret setting out on my adventure to, and she rewards me with a Master Ball for, I guess, my correct answer. I wonder what she would have given me if I answered yes. Let me know if you want to see that in my next run of Pokemon Black and White. With all 8 Unova Gym badges and an increased level cap, I can assemble my team for Victory Road as well as my final battle with Cheren. It consists of Togekiss, Crocodile, Dusclops, Jellicent, Ferrothorn, and Stoutland. After a quick friendship grind so I can get max friendship returns on Stoutland, I step across the bridge to fight Cheren. I lead Stoutland into his Unfezant and am able to return 3 times for the KO. In comes Serperior, and after a weak return, I make the switch to Dusclops to get off a Will-O-Wisp and a Confuse Ray. I switch back into Larada to try to set up with Workup, but I am a fool and should have known better. The puppy dog that I just spent so much time getting to love me fell as a result of my arrogance. Upset over this, I do what I should have done several turns ago and just OHKO the Serperior with Togekiss. I'm an idiot. Simipour burns Togekiss, so I'm forced to switch to Ferrothorn, who wipes out Simipour with a couple of Power Whips. Liepard enters the battle and El Pico gives him the same treatment. With Cheren out of the way, I am free to challenge Victory Road, which isn't too challenging in these games. The only really notable things that happen here is that I encounter a Seismitoad in the gate section that I name El Baño, and a Voltorb in the caves that I name El Maestro. I have a really close call and almost lose Crocodile, but my only death here ends up being Scolipede, which isn't too big of a deal because I don't think I would have included it on my team for this part of the game anyway. But with that, I arrive at the Elite Four and am ready to potentially lose it all here. If you've made it this far in the video and have watched the previous 3 parts, thank you so much. Just make sure to check out the finale for this attempt, which will either result in a victory or a devastating loss. Like, comment, and subscribe so that the algorithm points you back in my direction, and I'll see you next time.